see. Hello and welcome back to No Nose Knows. Today's chapter will be chapter 27. Shall we get started?
Yes, we will.
Alrighty then. Let's get started. Ready when you are, sir. Come on,
I'm ready. Would you like to start out? Or would you like to read this one?
Actually, I'll have you read so I can add like little comments to it.
Do you prefer I'd read?
Yes. That's
Okay. Will you stop with that infernal tapping already? Luna snapped with a lash of her tail. Why? Celestia cheered.
what? Why? What's with this whole evil Celestia? This isn't Daybreaker, okay? We're not at that point yet.
Why? Celestia cheerfully. No. Why? Celestia cheerfully replied, and she resumed tapping on the chain that held her bound with an increased tempo. Isn't this a lovely beat? Nay, it is not. It reminds me of when Brilliant Idea showed us that mechanical pencil invention of his. And I would still be clicking it to this day if you hadn't fed it to that Urlock. Celestia pouted. I think that poor thing is so grumpy because he's still trying to swallow it. Do you think Shining could be convinced to move here? Cadence asked with a small smile. It's so delightfully dark down here, and wonderfully depressing. It's the first time I felt a place speak to my inner emptiness.
What?
I swear, Cadence, Luna snarled. If you mention another word about depression, blackness, or anything else like that, I will personally stuff a rainbow down your throat. Celestia giggled fiercely, and she clamped both those over her mouth. Rainbow stuffing, Mermpha. Mermpha.
What?
A bright flash of light pierced the very air around them, and the three alicorns sat up in surprise as a large cage appeared on the nearby rocky platform. With weak
Hold on, wait, stop. Hold up.
Okay.
Start up at the top of the paragraph you cut out. Again. You're cutting out still. Sorry.
It's just something with my mouth. A bright flash of light pierced the very air around them, and the three alicorns sat up in surprise as a large cage appeared. I can't speak right now.
I'll take over for a sec, alright?
Okay.
A blight flash appeared. A blight flash of... Yeah. We both can't... A bright flash of light pierced the very air around them, and the three alicorns sat up in surprise as a very large cage appeared on a nearby rocky platform, with a weak and sickly-looking Tyrek trapped within. The chains that held the princess is bound, then melted away and evaporated. Celestia breathed in a delightful scent of victory when she felt her magic and her strength flow back into her. She did it, Celestia whispered with a laugh and a smile, while Luna and Cadence grasped and drank in the rush of energy. Twilight has found her place. Ugh. Cadence shivered and ruffled her wings furiously while doing a little dance on the tip of her hooves. I most certainly do not want to go through that again. Wait a minute. So was that mood change? Was that just them without their magic?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
I thought they were still acting.
Story, when Celestia was all moody, depressed, not moody, but like all childish, that was because her magic was taken away.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay, sorry. It wasn't so bad, Luna replied with a devilish smile. I found a whole new affair to be enlightened, or perhaps should I say enshadowing. You must never speak of what happened to us. Cadence replied with a blush. Ever. Oh, Luna pouted. But you would love to look so... You look so lovely with some black eyeshadow and piercings in the tips of your ears. Perhaps you in shining armor could get a matching set. Never again. Cadence dropped her face into her hooves. I don't ever want to think about the joke Shiny would come up with. Yeah, that'd be very, very good. Cadence's aunts shared a laugh. Both then, then both crossed their hearts and hooves. Pinky promised to never speak of this again, Luna offered. Except for Bean. I think he should be told, Celestia offered, with a quick wiggle of her eyebrows. But we should also have him promise to keep to himself. Okay, speaking of Bean, he just smashed into a tree earlier. So,
Yeah.
I wonder how he's doing so far. Oh, because that probably
I have to mention something.
What?
It was a comment I forgot to mention yesterday. But when I was reading this story, it was the latest chapter.
I know.
There was no new book.
You thought they were gonna kill Bean. I remember you were talking about that last night.
Moment. Oh, sorry, spoilers for anyone who's listening.
What? I didn't even hear what you said.
I said, oh, sorry, spoilers for anyone listening.
Oh, man. Anyway, right, yeah, so, we'll hope Bean's okay. Well, I mean, there's 2 more books after this, so he's fine. We should return to them. Cadence flared her wings and allowed her fellow alicorns and all thee to look to the air. I don't know about you, Aunt Sally, but I want to grab my husband, pull him into a tight embrace, and never let go. Yes, that's it. Indeed, Celestia replied with a deep smile. I am most eager to reclaim my being. So here's the thing. Imagine being the guard having to tell her that, like, if he had died, to tell her that he died. Like, so here's the deal. He's dead. But with the 3 rose towards the light of Equestria, Luna couldn't help herself. You always did. Just add 1 stake of black to your mane, Absolutely not.
I'll take over now.
All right, cool. Thank you. I need to drink some water.
I had something with my teeth and was annoying me.
Oh, is that why? You're cutting in and out.
Okay. Here, let me fix that better. I need to get a proper mic up here in my room. Celestia let loose a nicker of delight while her wings propelled her towards her beloved. She had it all planned out. First, she was going to entice Bean out of the safe house with some teasing laughs and gentle summons. And then she was going to tackle him when he rounded the corner to the old throne room. And then she would hold him as closely as she could for as long as possible. Tickling would certainly be involved, and kissing, lots of kissing, and a kissing that he would blush right down to the roots of his adorable ears and complain, although not too loudly. Even in her recent less than ideal mental state, she had pined for his love and his loving embrace, and now that was all was well, there was nothing that would keep her from that delightful yellow stallion and his world-altering kisses. Oh boy, just wait, she's gonna find out.
Just you can see my facial expression. I'm just like, oh.
That was until she heard a deep rumbling and a bright rainbow burst out of the Everfree forest and touched down at the outskirts of Ponyville. The origin point appeared to be where the Tree of Harmony was located, and all 3 princesses halted in midair. Aunt Sally, what is that? Cadence asked. The answer showed itself before Celestia could reply. Before their eyes, and to their great astonishment, a giant crystalline castle fairly exploded up and out of the ground. And the 3 alicorns shared a ooh together while they flew towards the new structure. It would appear that your most faithful student has unlocked the chest, Luna observed while they touched down in front of the new glittering building. And now all the princesses of Equestria have a castle to call their own. Celestia felt like she might burst with joy. She had always known that Twilight Sparkle would achieve her own greatness in due time. But now that the time was here, she couldn't help but be proud. Do we need to worry about him? Cadence asked, and she trotted over to a small blue foal who was clinging to a nearby tree branch like his life depended on it, and was chewing on the bark with all of his might. Hey, little guy, how'd you get up here? Why don't you slag off and mind your own? Gah! A sudden snap of the branch set the little colt tumbling down, only to be snared in Cadence's aura. Whoa, don't worry, I've got you. Flint growled softly. When my day of reckoning comes, you and yours will be spared. He grumbled before being hefted into her arms.
He's talking to Cadence. He's like, I will kill, like, you and your husband will be spared.
Okay, I appreciate that very much, she giggled before giving him a nuzzle. Come on, let's go find your mommy. Perhaps if you dropped him, it may improve his disposition, Luna dryly suggested.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Lucius hissed. No such quarter shall be granted to you, Moonhag, and let me go. I'm capable of finding my own mother.
Oh no, wait, sorry. Read the I have laid waste, you cut out there.
I have laid waste to countless civilizations. I am more than capable of finding my own mother. It's probably best to do as you requested, Celestia replied with an amused shake of her head. She then began to mentally organize a list of things she would need to do before she could properly celebrate the week-long party that Pinkie Pie was bound to produce. And she put one particular entry at the very top with a smile. Recover one husband. Find a private location. Tell Bean about Epiphany. Twilight and her friends then popped in with a flash, and Celestia smiled all the more while she beheld the new and colorful transformation Twilight and her friends had undergone. While she would need to confirm what she suspected, she was confident that the elements of harmony, or the power of the elements perhaps, were once again available to Ponykind. Celestia then started to congratulate the element bearers, but the words were cut off when Applejack gasped. Great hopping horny toads! Where's Bean? Bean! 5 ponies then galloped past her at full speed, their appearances having reverted back to normal, and Celestia watched them for a moment before returning to her former student. Twilight, she asked calmly despite the leaden lump that was building in her stomach. Is everything all right? Quick! Rainbow Dash's voice cut through the air. Derpy, Flitter, Cloud Chaser, you're with me. We gotta find them. I don't know what's going on, Twilight offered in amusement while the reunited princesses watched Applejack and Pinkie Pie dash off towards the Ever-3 with a small gaggle of ponies on their tails. I thought Prince Bean was at the safe house. Perhaps Bean disobeyed your orders, Luna remarked while pointing to the several scorched and pie-splattered buildings in town, one of which was still on fire. I have not fought a proper war in 1,000 years, but if this is not a battlefield, then I'm a goat. This is a priority search, Pokey's voice rang out. Execute search pattern alpha. No separation. Move out. Bean, Celestia's softly questioned while a platoon of Pegasus guards followed Pokey into the woods. There was a quick flash of golden magic, and Celestia was gone. What happened? Twilight asked herself while she surveyed the damage Ponyville had suffered. I thought I asked for everyone in town to go hide. Twilight, darling. Rarity called out with a furious beckoning motion of her hoof. You know how I hate to intrude, but I do believe we are in need of your organizational skills. What's going on? Twilight demanded while the three princesses joined the frazzled fashionista and a nearby group of about 10 ponies, but Rarity shook her head in reply. It would take too long to explain, and Prince Bean is in grave peril. Simply put, he rallied the town against Tirek, but he was thrown into the Ever-3 by that boorish brute before he stole our magic. We need to find him. Baked Bean fought Tirek? All nearby eyes went wide in alarm, and the group slowly turned to face Princess Celestia. Somehow she had reappeared behind Cadence without alerting any pony, and Rarity chuckled nervously. Well, you see, he didn't fight him by himself, Your Highness, she stammered. We all helped him. Celestia's stance widened. Her chest began to heave wildly and her nostrils flared. Bean was thrown? I'm sure he's just fine, Rarity began, but she got no further. Sergeant Cloverleaf! The sergeant appeared in a flash of golden magic, and she nearly flew face first into Cadence. Celestia's magic instantly snagged the hapless guard, and Clover would have saluted if she had the ability to move. Princess Celestia, nice to have you back, ma'am. Where is my husband? Your husband, Clover stammered dumbly. She had never seen her liege so unsettlingly livid. Yes, my husband, your charge. The one whom you swore to protect with the most solemn oath. The one I specifically ordered you to keep safe. There was the distinct smell and sound of hair being burnt, and the poor sergeant shrunk back a bit from the barely contained fury before
Hold
her.
on, wait, stop.
We're
I think she's like a few like seconds away from turning into Daybreak and be like, find him now.
we're not 100% sure at the moment, but we believe he is somewhere in the central part of the Everfree. We last saw him on an arcing trajectory heading towards Clover was dropped and Celestia disappeared once again. All right, we need to get a grid pattern set up, Twilight announced, and her magic grabbed a nearby stick to drawing in the dirt. Otherwise, we'll get lost ourselves while we look for him. Now, I think I can calculate Bean's likely landing place, and we could use that as our staging point.
Oh no.
A low, mournful, and impassioned cry then rose up from the forest, a forlorn howl that came from a voice that was usually regarded to be the polar opposite of such a thing. Bean, where are you?
When you reach like the when you reach like the little thing over there, just stop.
My sister will not last long without him.
Okay, so I think this is where the switch for Bean and one of Chrysalis's guard guys. I think this is when the switch happens. This is like the most likely time for the switch to happen. All right, should I go? Yeah, you doing? You doing good?
Okay, I am going to drop a. I forgot about the changeling.
Hold up, wait.
Did I disconnect?
You sort of went in and out.
Accepting. The internet's being a little funky.
Yeah. I'm gonna take over for a sec.
Okay.
Alright. Several days passed, but to the dismay of the entire kingdom, there was no trace of the wayward prince. In the wake of the victory over one of the most destructive and cruel tyrants Equestria had ever known, there should have been a grand celebration and spontaneous parties proclaiming the gratitude of ponykind to the elements of harmony. But such would not be, while the worst was feared for Celestia's love. The very sun itself seemed reluctant to move. The least the mayor who controlled it missed one clue, one hint of a sign. The one she had grown to treasure above all had been where she was seeking. Even the newly formed crystal castle of Ponyville, the situation felt sullen and grim. Each passing hour chipped away at the hopes of the search parties that had ventured into the Everfree and after their prince. And though none wanted to admit it, the citizens of the fair town failed to begin in their hearts that the worst had happened. Oh boy, wow! It was the most abysmal light that Twilight's friends, and Applejack in particular, decided to frank assignment of the situation. Gonna need to pause for a second.
Okay.
Because I got to eat. We will pick up a bit afterward. And the camera's not even recording, I think. I don't know. Anyway, we'll pick up after dinner.
Okay.
All right.
Like in 2 hours, because I got dinner going on about in just a bit as well.
Okay. I don't think it's going to take 2 hours, but at
Okay,
least
I'll
for you.
check back in an hour.
Got it. Okay.
And if I'm not ready, we'll see. I'll let you know.
All right. Cool. Bye. And we're back. Lovely to you. It just felt like a little blip. Ready. Here we go. Where do we start off?
We were just finished talking about how they were talking about having to take a break from the search.
Oh, yeah, okay, got it. What's happened? Okay, yes. It was in this most abysmal light that Twilight's friends, Applejack in particular, decided to let a frank assessment of the situation was needed with the newly christened Princess of Friendship. But what if she doesn't listen to us? Fluttershy asked, while they made their way to the new throne room. She will. She just needs to hear the truth. I don't think she's gonna like it, though. That may be, said Applejack as they reached the main doors, but she's gotta do something right. There were murmurs and agreement to this, but they were reluctant and hesitant. Applejack then nodded, and she pushed open the doors. You all right in there, Sugar Cube? Twilight snorted herself awake, and her head dipped dangerously close to the crystal table in front of her before she caught herself and looked back up. Yes, Applejack. Thank you, I'm fine. It sure don't look like that, the farmer said. Nodding off, a pony entered the room. Have you even slept since being disappeared? Twilight yawned. Of course I have. I've been able to catch a lovely 15-minute power nap in that big foyer-looking area with the flags a few hours ago. Before that, I slept in the... Twilight paused, her eyes unfocused for a moment, but then she shook her head and snapped back to reality. Well, it doesn't matter. Either I have time to sleep, I have no idea where the bedrooms are in this palace. You can't go like this, Sugar Cube. And I know you're plumb tuckered out, but these ponies have to rest sometime, even alicorns. Look, Twilight, Applejack began removing her hat and placed it on the table while her friends looked at their respective seats. I always did like Bean. He was a good stallion. When it came time, he stepped up, and some of us, and then some. He made us all proud, but she stopped and looked around with her hooves tapping on the table for a moment before continuing. But even if he was the hardiest of earth ponies, there ain't no way he would survive that fall. But we still should have found. Fluttershy spoke up and choked slightly on what she was implying. Okay, like legit, like how does he survive this? Is he like at the brink of death at this point or something? I don't know. True.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You already know. So shut up here. No, it's fine. Kid. True, Applejack said with a nod. We would have found a trace of him. Maybe this is cause for some optimism. But let's be real here. There are things that are in those woods that would carry off a pony, and other things that would pick it clean. Even if he survived somehow, he would have been snapped up by a timber wolf, most likely. Silence overtook the room. Are you suggesting we give up? Twilight asked for a moment. Then, with a cold note in her words, not at all, Applejack said. I meant what I said. He deserves to be found in whatever shape he is in, even if it's to give him a proper send-off. They're talking about like he's dead. I mean, as far as they know, he probably could be dead.
Mm-hmm.
She returned her hat to her head, but we owe it to ourselves to see other matters too. So we should scale back the search then, Twilight said. I'm thinking so. 3 days in the Everfree without the fall is too long for any pony. He's bound to be dead. Are you willing to tell the princess that, Rainbow pressed? It won't be the first time I've handled bad news. Rainbow, nor the first time I had to give it. I'll do it. The silence that overcame was deafening. Fluttershy, has there been anyone from Discord? Fluttershy ground. He's still very much ashamed of what he did. Good, Rainbow said, added bitterly. I mean, yes, to be fair, but honestly, I feel like Discord should be able to help locate Bean. Like, to be entirely fair here. And also, like, aren't there, like, location spells? Although I guess, it's kind of going... It's the thing, like, you think of the most simple solution, but that would negate the entire story entirely.
Nope. You're not wrong. They do think about that.
Oh, really?
Just a little bit ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, sorry. No, you're good. Good, Rainbow said bitterly. But Rarity placed a hoof on her shoulder and frowned to prevent any further content. But he won't say much else to me other than apologize. I get the feeling he's looking for Bean in his own way. I don't even think he'll rest until Bean comes back. Okay, well, there it goes. That statement aged like sour milk. Wow. If I had read a few more lines, I would have negated that entirely. Except
Yes.
like the whole location spell. Twilight rubbed her hoof. I don't think any pony will rest until we find Prince Bean, even if the volunteers are refusing to sleep. Unlock the chamber doors and interrupt the conversation. At Princess Twilight's invitation, Private Lemon Tart stumbled into the room. She removed her helmet and bowed to the princess. But for a moment, Twilight was afraid Tart wouldn't be able to pick her head back up. Sergeant Fox, Search Group Foxtrot reporting in Princess. Sector 55 has been cleared. Twilight's magic picked up a nearby wax pencil and she put a large X on the map. It was spread before her. Wait a minute. Oh no, because that hole would have been plugged up by then. I was just thinking maybe he accidentally fell into like the area with the mirror pool.
Bean has been doubled.
Well, I mean, Celestia would probably like that. Oh boy. Anyway, let's move on before things get bit. Okay.
New fan.
Moving on. A few papers scrolled and floated. Twilight shuffled them a moment before writing on something one of them. Did you find anything at all private? Pinkie Pie asked. Mosquitoes, frogs, a few dragonflies, peat moss. That's better than Search Group Tango, Twilight chuckled mirthlessly. They stumbled into the nest of chimeras with the newborns. I was told Bonbon only needed 3 stitches, and Lyra insists that she regain her hearing in a day. Insists she'll regain her hearing in a day or two. What are your orders, Princess? Twilight took a long look at the private. Her eyes were sunken, bloodshot, and hollow. Her coat was nearly covered from withers to hooves, still in the mud. Twigs and branches were hopelessly tangled in her mane and tail. Her armor looked like it was beginning to rust in places. Is the rest of your group outside? Yes, ma'am. They're ready and willing to start back up the search. Oh, I was supposed to report. I was also supposed to report to the doctor, who's still working on a calculation for the bean counting machine. Bean counting machine. I still have no idea how that's supposed to find the prince, but I promise to relay the message. Okay, all right. There's the location for that. Thank you, Private Twilight replied with a glance over to Applejack, who nodded slowly. I think the best thing to do right now is get some rest. You've all been putting in long hours. You need a break. Understood, ma'am, Tart replied with a sloppy salute. I'll tell Foxtrot that they'll have half an hour. And we'll start on Sector 56. No, wait. I said your group needs rest. How local ponies go home for the night, and then you go find a bed. I'm sure there's one lying around here somewhere. I'll have you report back in 0600 hours tomorrow morning. Tart didn't move. Tart was worried that her last word had knocked out a little sense that remained in the haired guard. It was a slow blink and then the confusion. What about B-Man? We need to find him. Yes, but we're not going to find you. You're not going to find him in that state you're in. Really, I have plenty of patrols still out. You can take a break. Please don't make me order you. Very well, ma'am, Tart replied. And her eyes drifted to the floor. See, okay, if Bean had just gone there, everything would have progressed decently. Okay, now I'm in the same boat as Bean for, wanting to... I should have gone to the safe house. Then he wouldn't be missing. But, I mean, hey, it makes for a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Thank you, Private. You may go. Tart simply shuffled out, and the doors closed softly behind her. You see, Applejack pointed at the door. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I know, Twilight groaned. But you saw how disappointed she was. I feel so horrible about telling them to stop. They're desperate to find him. Just like the princesses, Applejack observed. Celestia ain't even returned to Candlelight yet. She spends all her time out in the woods. Oh, I mean, okay, to be frank, she is just like, whew, shoot, she's fell half of the trees in the Everfree in her own inner desperation. Do we even know if she's taking care of the sun like she should? I know she has been. Princess Luna isn't covering her hives. Covered in hives. Still, she can't go on like she's been doing. Come on, she was your teacher. Can't you talk the princess into taking a break? If she did, the rest of them would follow. She would take a break if Big. Would you take a break if Big Mac was out there? Twilight hunched over the map, and she made a few marks to indicate where the search parties had been. Neither will she. Twilight, she's starting to scare the searchers, Applejack said with a concerned, heavy voice. The way she acted when the Hydra ate that Pokefeller, I didn't even know there was a spell to make one of them critters dump the contents of their stomach in that way so rapidly. She's not the only one that's taking this badly. Sergeant Pokey has had to be tied down to his hospital bed, otherwise he'd be out there searching. Sergeant Clover hasn't been seen for. Twilight paused, quickly looked through papers. 32 hours. I'm worried about her. But she told me she wouldn't be back until she found him. I think Celestia scared the applesauce out of her when she first thought Bean was missing. Whoo, boy. A fact I greatly regret, Celestia said. When she strode into the room, the element bearer stood and bowed. Please, there's no need for that. You're right, Applejack. My behavior was most unbecoming. I should have not allowed my anger to flare out of control as it did. I will make amends when I can. But there's a moment I need your help, Twilight. Of course, Princess, what do you need? I believe a scrying spell. I believe I have a scrying spell that can find Bean. Okay, here we go. But I do not possess enough power on my own to make it effective. But all other scrying spells haven't been able to penetrate through the undergrowth and trees. What did you do to compensate for that? Another time, Twilight, please. I will share everything I have done with you. But first, I must find Bean. I'm greatly concerned for his welfare at this point. Oh, right. I'm sorry. Let's go. Applejack, can I ask a favor of you as well? Celestia asked. Sure thing. Just name it. Garbanzo and Lima are due to check back in with their search party in 10 minutes. When you do, will you please escort them to Town Hall? Once determining Bean's location, I want them to accompany me for his retrieval. You are so confident that they'll find him. I'll make sure they get their princess. Thank you, Celestia replied. The two princes of Equestria made their way towards the exit with calls for good luck from the group, and Twilight took a few minutes in the ensuing silence to evacuate her revered teacher and personal friend. Celestia had been searching for Bean nearly nonstop, usually with a search party, but a few times by herself. Applejack had been right to worry about Celestia's mental and physical well-being. Twilight wasn't sure that the princess had slept since the search began. Ooh, that can't be good for the baby. She would insist that the searchers eat and drink before she did when meals were prepared. Now that Twilight thought about it, it was very possible Celestia had been eating as often as she slept. Oh, boy. This is a fine counsel you've been gifted with, Twilight, Celestia remarked it as while they approached the main doors. I would greatly appreciate you taking me on a tour when this is all settled and resolved. I love you, Princess. I just need to figure out where everything is first. If you go on that tour together. That's great. A warm smile came to the Solar Princess, but Twilight couldn't help but noticed to see the lines that had formed under the corners of Celestia's eyes and along her cheekbones. They made her look so depressed and so dejected, so old. Twilight had never been available to envision Celestia as anything other than her eternally youthful self, but for the first time, the everlasting bringer of the day began to look her age. It broke Twilight's heart anew. Princess, can I ask you something? Twilight quickly asked when her magic opened the main doors of the castle. Of course not. What is it? Have you slept since being disappeared? Celestia faltered, but just for a moment. I have not, Twilight. I doubt that I will be able to do so until I have recovered my being. Do you realize there's a good chance that he's, I refuse to believe that, Celestia stated firmly, as her face hardened into a scowl of determination. He would not leave me, nor would I leave him, for any reason. He is out there, and he awaits our rescue. He may be disoriented, confused, alone and injured, but he is there. Are you mad at him? Celestia didn't get a chance to answer. Luna landed before them at the exact moment. She nodded quickly before falling into step with her fellow alicorns. Everything has been prepared. Sister Cadence awaits us. She has the scrying crystal that has been cut from and calibrated according to your instructions. Did you review my notes? Celestia asked. Luna nodded again. Indeed. To my eyes, you have done no wrong. Perhaps you should allow Twilight to review the formula, though. I'll look it over only if it doesn't work, Twilight replied with a shake of her head. I'm sure Princess Celestia got it right. Then come, we must make haste. I think like Luna was supposed to be like, I need to get my brother-in-law back right now. Okay. You're going to amplify the scrying spell by synchronizing 4 spells into one, Twilight observed while she looked over Shining's workover. Yes, Celestia replied. The crystal should be able to provide the amplification we need to penetrate through the forest and allow us to find being quickly. Shining armor. Is the rune paths ready? Just about got it, he announced, and he stepped back to admire his work. That should do it. Thank you, Cadence. Twilight. May I impose upon you one more time? Of course, Cadence replied. As she quickly moved over to one of the rune circles that had been created. Are you assuming that I will help Sister Luna? Teased while moving over to another circle. There's no need to ask for it is a foregone conclusion. Luna, I'm sorry, I should have. You were just you were just too easy to tease sometimes, Sully. Luna cut her off with a sly grin and a wink. We both know you never need to ask for my assistance. Take over. I need a little break. Hello?
Yes.
I need you to take over for a sec.
Oh, sorry. Where did we left off?
You never need to ask for my assistance.
Got it. You never need to ask. Oh, shoot. Okay, yeah, there you go. Thank you, dear sister, Celestia replied while she moved to her own spot. Twilight, are you prepared? Shining, you really should have used a fancy magic pattern. Not another fancy magic pattern. I'm not pronouncing that. Twilight replied while she studied the rune marks in front of her. You could gain a 12% increase in output if you had... Oh, Twilight smiled sheepishly while she looked up and saw every pony staring at her. Right, it's fine. The application factor is well beyond what you need. I'll remember that for next time, Twilight. Shining chuckled. Let us begin. Remember to cast all your thoughts on baked being while the spell is being cast, said Celestia. This should only take a minute at most. 4 alicorns brought their magic up to full power, and in unison, 4 alicorns aimed a magical stream of energy at the crystal before them. The rune marks on the floor began to glow and pulse with energy, and it only took a moment for Twilight to feel the same surge of power that she had felt when the totality of alicorn magic had been gifted to her by her fellow princesses. For a brief moment, Twilight's concentration was broken when she heard Cadence gasp and saw her falter slightly from the surge of magic. But she quickly regained her composure and stood tall, and by appearances, she was giving the spell everything she had. Twilight then forced herself to think of Baked Bean, of his visits to Ponyville, and when she had first met him in Canterlot. She thought of both weddings he had shared with Celestia, and how happy her teacher had been in those moments. She thought of how that happiness had grown and ingrained into not only Celestia, but outwards from her into all of the little ponies she served, day in and day out. She thought of the immense loss Equestria would feel if Bean was no longer the prince, and she fought back a sniffle when she thought of the personal agony she would feel if Bean was no more. The crystal before them began to glow, but instead of producing a clear picture of Baked Bean or his location, the crystal simply became cloudy and full of darkness. Twilight felt her confusion building, but she doubled her effort to pour magic in, and she began to grunt and sweat slightly from the exertion. Maybe, with just a bit more energy and magic, the spell could penetrate through whatever was blocking out Bean, and "Watch out!" Shining Armor yelled, and he managed to form a shield around the crystal a mere instant before the whole of it cracked and shattered like a broken mirror. Without a shield, shards of razor-sharp crystal would have been sent flying in all directions, and Twilight smiled deeply when she saw that her brother had flung himself between his wife and the potential explosion.
Oh my goodness! I just found it. Okay, he's definitely in the Changeling Hive. Absolutely, he's definitely in the Changeling Hive. You know why I know that? Because of the Chrysalis's throne. Yeah, her throne is keeping at is blocking out the magic. It's sucking out all magic that isn't changing magic. I know that for a fact, and you can't hide it from me anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, people who are listening to this right now who have never seen anything about the story. I might have just spoiled it for you, but I mean, like, I know it now.
If you've watched the show, you know it's mentioned in season 6 that she has a anti-magic throne, and so
I'm so glad I caught it.
Although, actually, I believe earlier in the story, she mentions getting the rocks needed for that anti-magic throne, so it could be concluded it is the anti-magic throne.
Indeed. And so Baked Bean... Okay, but wait, hold on. Okay, Baked Bean's just going to show up randomly probably at the end of this chapter.
Okay, anyway. I'll keep going.
Anyway, sorry, go.
I don't understand. Celestia's magic conjured up a large blackboard covered in magical, elemental, and mathematical symbols. I counted for everything. The crystal should have shown us where he was. Twilight stepped up next to her mentor and looked over the work. At first glance, she could see no fault in the works, and Celestia had been most meticulous in her calculations. Why did the crystal explode? Luda asked as she poked at the shards with her hoof. Too much power, said Cadence. I bet you did what I did. When the crystal became clouded, I forced more of my magic into it. It was too much, and the resulting overflow caused the cataclysmic failure. But we should have seen something before that, Twilight said while pointing to the board. There's nothing wrong with this. The only reason the scrying spell would have failed is if there was a loud crashing thump just before Sergeant Cloverleaf burst through and careened off the doors leading in. She skidded to a stop on her face. Twilight and the other princesses were instantly at her side, and all four gasped when they saw her condition. Most of Clover's armor was missing, and the claw marks that raked her barrel made it clear she had not been separated from her accoutrements willingly. Her helm was battered and gorged. Her mane was half burnt and half torn from her scalp in large patches.
Ugh.
One wing was bent in at an angle it was never meant to be in, and she desperately clung to something with chipped and cracked hooves. Prince Bean, Clover managed to get out, but then her eyes rolled back in her head. Her grip gave out with her consciousness, and the scroll rolled out while Shining Armor rushed to aid his fallen comrade.
Oh no! Wait, hold up. She found Bean when they were kidnapping him, essentially, and she was trying to fight back. And I think that scroll is just saying, "Hey, we kidnapped Bean." I don't know.
Well, you'll see. We'll keep reading. How is she? Celestia asked, and Dr. Horson Perfer sighed while she gently shut the door. She'll live, but we're going to need to keep an eye on her. Thankfully, the staff here is top-notch. And I actually went through residency with Dr. Stitch. so I know she's in good hopes. I'll have her stay in Ponyville for a few days while she stabilizes, and then we'll get her transferred back to Counterlock. Good. I have lost far too many guards in my lifetime. But you have yet to lose a husband, and I would hate to see that streak end already. Horse and Puffer replied with a nod towards the door. Go find him. I'll be ready and waiting for you both here. Celestia nodded and smiled before quickly teleporting back to the town hall. The broken crystal had been cleared away. The rune marks had been scrubbed, and the blackboard had been erased and filled with the crew map of the Everfree. Sergeant Armor and Sergeant Pokey had been discussing something, but the conversation died when there snapped to attention and crisp salutes. I thought you were still supposed to be in bed, Celestia said to Pokey, while she looked over the fresh bandages over his barrel, the splint on his left wing, and the cast on his left rear leg. Not happening while my charge is missing, ma'am. He ripped the restraints from the bed, Shiny Armor added. They were still around his fetlocks when he arrived here. I see, Celestia nodded to the map. Have you found him? What did the scroll say? The two guards exchanged a look between them that Celestia instantly feared. They were coordinates, ma'am. I think it would be best if we took you there, Pokey answered. Celestia was sure she would stop breathing at any moment. The coordinates... Well, oh, wait. My thing just jumped for a bit.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry.
The coordinates had led them deep into the Everfree, until finally they had come to a small thicket of thorns and prickle
bushes. Okay.
That were growing near a pond that was no wider than Celestia was tall. There was still no beam, but what they had found was even worse. The divots here indicate he came in pretty fast and at somewhat shallow angle, Pokey said, while softly with a nod to the apparent landing site. And we could pretty well see which trees he hit on the way in. The tracks in the dirt parallel the blood trail, and those are of a chimera. We think there is a nearby nest that came to investigate, and maybe that is what caused the injuries to Sergeant Clover. But we haven't been able to confirm anything yet. Pokey paused, and both he and Shining Armor swallowed hard. Princess, I'm afraid we have no choice but to conclude that the prince was killed by the chimera, or that he had perished upon landing and his body was taken. There are no hoof prints or any other signs that would indicate the prince being left here under his own powers. Fire roared in her mind, an all-consuming blaze that would devour the world, in particular, every infernal chimera in the forest. They dared to consume her beloved. For that moment, they would burn with a fire eternal, and the world would gawk and tremble at the blazing pit her rage would leave, where there was once untamed wilderness. Aunt Sally, are you okay? Shining gently touched her shoulder. Celestia's eyes popped open, and for a brief moment she could feel them burning with the golden fury of the one who could never be satisfied. She forced herself to take deep breaths and nodded slowly after a minute. Captain, please have all the searchers meet at the town hall. There's no reason for them to risk their lives any longer. I would like one small squad to remain and continue searching until we know for sure what happened. Of course, I'll put my best soldiers on it. We'll find him, no matter what. Thank you. I will need a few moments alone. We'll see you back in town, ma'am, Pokey replied with a grim nod. Celestia spread her wings and took to the air quickly. She could feel her burning anger rising within her, pulsing and pushing with every wild beat of her broken heart. If she did not remove herself from the forest, there would almost be nothing left, or nothing that could keep her from turning the whole place to ash and burning cinders. No, she told herself with a long and shuddering breath. I will harm no creature simply because it was acting upon instinct. The fault is mine, and the blame for what has happened belongs on me and none other. But she knew there was a way to bring him back to her. There was a power, a raw well of pure energy that she could draw from her to keep her from feeling the pain of Bean's loss. I will not tread that path, she stated with tears in her eye. If I let it out, I will experience a pain beyond any mortal comprehension. End of the chapter.
Ooh, wow, that is... No, they can't... It can't be it. Like, no. I know he's alive. There's two more books. There's 3 more books.
Okay. That's how I felt when I read this. I didn't know there was 2 more books. I thought he was dead.
I know. This is... frick.
Okay. I'm actually possible. I'm gonna have to go in just a bit.
Oh no, yeah, of course.
I
Probably
do
like
have
record
family over.
2 chapters today, maybe, I don't know. Cuz I'm
I do
itching
have-
to what?
I do have family over.
Got it. Okay.
I will check in within an hour
Uh-huh.
or maybe less if they leave early.
Got it. Yeah. They give me like a call.
Mm-hmm. No, I like this chapter. You get to see the despair in Celestia right now.
But oh my goodness, that's going to make the reuniting so much sweeter.
Oh, yes, it will. But man, is it going to be painful.
Yeah, but no, he's totally in the hive right now. Without
Yes.
a doubt. Probably that blood trail was, I mean, of course the changing was probably be a chimera. Like change it to a chimera to easily take him away.
Now that, yeah.
See,
How much
I'm
more
putting this
exactly-
together. I'm a smart cookie here. It's so good. All right, okay.
I wish I had picked up on that when I read it. I totally forgot the changelings were behind it all. And when I first read it,
Okay,
and so I thought he was dead. And
I
then the next
still
couple
think-
parts is confusing because they show 2 different perspectives. The actual Bean and the changeling Hive thinking he's in Equestria.
hold on. Stop.
I'm sorry,
Stop.
but you know what's gonna.
Stop it. Stop. Anyway, I'm just okay. Thank
Fine,
you.
I'll share my frustration with the next little bit once we finish reading it.
Okay. Thank you for listening. This has been a lot of fun. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.